Hey, yo, what's good with everybody, man? I hope everybody's having a productive day, feeling blessed, and like I always say, it's one life, one chance. We only got one chance to do this right. Let's get it done. Trip out on this story, man. It's somebody that I talked to that actually is doing 25 years, but his sentence is almost done. About 2 years, 7 months to go. Gave me an incredible story. A story that's going to be long with a lot of details. But my question is this, man. Is there such thing as summer cold? Because it's hot. I live in a little apartment, got an air conditioner on, and in order for me to be cool, I open up my window and I turn on my fan so I can get the window, because it gets cold outside and windy where I'm at, like real windy. And I woke up the next day, I couldn't breathe all that night. My nose was clogged up. I was like, oh my God, I can't breathe. What's going on all night? And for like 3 days, my nose has been clogged and runny, and I don't feel like the cold sick, but I'm just clogged up. So we had a Norteno who put in work on the streets, an attempted murder case. Putting work for big homies from his neighborhood. He's from Poplar, but Poplar is really known to work with the regiment at the time. And one of his homies from Poplar named Snoop got smoked on the streets and they retaliated. So he goes to county jail for attempts. But he conducts himself in a certain way. The first incident that occurred was authority in charge in Tulare County and Bob Wiley in 41. His name was Silent. Silent was from Strathmore. He's related to a dude named Baby Ernie. Baby Ernie is real political. Very, very political. Always in and out of county jail. I was in YA with them. I was celled up with them in county jail. I was celled up with them in YA too. You know, I knew the dude for a very long time. Didn't really like the cat because he's a YA baby. He wanted to punch you for any reason. So he was a problem child in county jail. He didn't like to acknowledge the authority in charge. So Silent first started disrespecting the homie's neighborhood because he had something against Poplar. And the homie hit him up. Was like, hey, fool, you keep disrespecting my audio, bro. Like, man, forget all this politics, bro. I don't care who you are. We can get down. And dude was like, you threatening me? He was like, no, I'm not threatening you, bro. I'm saying I'm going to pop this door and we're going to get down. And dude actually enticed him. Was like, bro, you know what happens if you press that button? And in Tulare County, Bob Wiley, you got a little button right here if you need to ask the cop for something. Whatever the case may be. You're not allowed to touch it without permission. You'd have to have some porter get what you need. You can't ask the cop for nothing. So he presses the button and tells the cop, hey, man, this dude's about to give me some canteen. Can you open my door to get it? And dude opened up the door. The cop just opened up the door. And he's like, man, what's up? You keep disrespecting my hood. And that fool slammed the door on him. Like, hey, fool, you tripping? All right, we'll see what's up. We'll see what's up. You already know what you got coming. And he was like, that's what I thought, fool. Why'd you shut the damn door, bro? Like, so he said that he wasn't into the Norteno policies where you strike it up to the household. He said, in this case, how could I strike it up when the authority in charge is him? So how am I supposed to strike him up? And I told him there's no protocols for that. There's a carnal in Tulare County Jail that happened to be from Tulare. He's a C. You could have gave it to him. But he didn't do that. So he didn't want to strike it up and be considered like snitching like within the homie. So he let it be. So Scarface. So an individual named Scarface, a Norteno, from Early Mark, slides him one time. He gets DP'd. He gets DP'd for confrontational and disrespecting the authority in charge and undermining the authority in charge and committing voluntary warfare. All grave offenses when it comes to the Norteno program. You can get sliced up in county bad for just committing one of those offenses. So he did 3 offenses in this particular situation, and all he got was a DP. So he took his DP like, man, whatever with that dude. But now there's animosity within the COC towards him. He said the one thing that confused him the most is that in Tulare County, they put out a filter that came from prison. And it was, when you go to court, everybody is to stand down. They're not engaging on nobody. No dropouts, no pseudo-annuals, no nothing. And a lot of Nortenos in the county jail were like, well, why aren't we blasting these fools? They're on site. But it's because the NF were undergoing the peace treaty at the time. And they weren't sanctioning everything on the DLs just yet. It was just to keep the peace because there was a lot of carnales coming off the streets, a lot of carnales paroling to the streets. The carnales were hitting the main lines, so they didn't want nothing to disturb that until they all got settled in and structured up and, you know, divided and conquered whatever they wanted to conquer. So he went against that. He was like, hell no. Nah. He spoke it out loud. I was like, hell no, nah, bro. If I go to court and I see a Southside, I'm getting on, bro. That peace treaty don't apply here. Never. And that's how he really felt. The DO part, I get that part. I do understand that part. You know, why? Southerners, yeah, because of the peace treaties between the North and South. But why they said don't touch nobody, don't rush nobody. That was the part that was confusing, but that was the filter that ran around. And it also went around that they went back to the 80s concepts. The 80s concepts was when it was a carnal, an hermano, which was a norteño, soldado, and norteños. After 1997, in April, they changed that. And they changed it to be carnales and souls and northerners. But that was to beat the validation system to prevent our gente from getting validated at the time. That's how it was preached. But now they're validating even northerners. So they went back to the 80s like, now we're going to beat the system this way. I mean, it doesn't make a difference how we identify ourselves. You get validated, and you go to the hole. But now we can't go to the hole, so we're going to go back to the 80s terms. It was just to combat prison administration. Now, this is what got them crossed up in all the Tulare County jail politics with the northerners. He seen a removal go down. Blanco was from Exeter. A norteño named Blanco was from Porterville. And he was celled up with an OG from Exeter. OG was well respected in Tulare County. And somehow they got into it. And there is no such thing as red on red crime. If you get caught doing red on red crime, you both get blasted. That didn't happen with this situation. What happened was Blanco knew that the OG had some family members that were DOs and snitches. So he was talking smack and making fun of them. And the OG finally stood up and was like, hey, fool, at the end of the day, that's still my familia. Like, watch your tongue, bro. Just change the subject. Leave it alone. That is my family you're disrespecting. And Blanco kept doing it. OG put tips on him. Beat him up in the cell bad. But it was mutual. They both were willing to fight one-on-one, covered their windows, and they squabbled. Well, word gets on around that 2 Nortenos got down. So they get both put on freeze. And they conduct an investigation. After that investigation concluded, now mind you, you got 2 different people saying the same thing. I disrespected the OG. The OG called me out. I didn't back down. That's the basis of the investigation. So Blanco gets cleared and gets taken on freeze. And the OG doesn't. And this Norteno that told me the story was sitting there like, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Why isn't the OG cleared? They should have got cleared at the same time, got DP'd, old cleanup. Why is he still on freeze? That's because they put out a filter saying that the OG violated bond number 4, which was, internal confrontation, red on red crime. And they stabbed this OG underneath the stairs viciously to the point that they got away, changed their clothes, jumped in the shower, and he crawled to the button to try to press the button, but he couldn't reach it, and he leaned over, and he fell against the wall, and he just bled out. Didn't die, but he bled out pretty bad, and the cops just happened to be escorting somebody back into the pod, opened the door and seen it, and busted all these dudes. And all these dudes got life sentences for this removal. The 4 Norteños that did it, and trust me when I say this sounds funny as hell, and trust me when I say this is really true. His name is Snorlax. Snorlax from Lindsay. Eddie Boy from Dinuba. J5 from Visalia, and Blanco from Poros. Mind you, Norteño protocol says that Blanco shouldn't have been involved in this, shouldn't have been the one to whack him, because he's part of the investigation. It becomes a conflict of interest. It could be looked at as hidden agendas, personal agendas. Anybody that accuses somebody else of something, they are not to be the ones to take care of that business. Because what if it comes out later that it was fraudulent? This dude made it all up and you sanction a removal on him and he was the one that do it. You fulfill that man's personal agenda to hit somebody. So that fool's going to get hit, then you're going to get hit because you knew better. So protocol said that Blanco shouldn't have got involved, but he got involved. And these 4 dudes wound up getting life for this removal because they sliced him up and beat him down bad because he violated bond number 4. But in bond number 4, no Norteño will ever attempt to disrespect a fellow Norteño's urruca or familia. So by Blanco disrespecting homeboy's familia, calling them a dropout this and this and that piece of, means the S word, a rata, DO, that's a violation of bond number 4. And that could be considered causing internal confrontation, which led to red on red crime because he's the instigator. And the Norteño that told me this story happens to be from Poplar. He was pretty much like, I sat there and could not believe my own eyes. Like, bro, I do all this for the homies and that's how hypocritical they are. Like, they both should have got blasted then. If that's the case, if you really want to hold somebody accountable to the bonds, they both were in violation. But how you gonna clear one and smack the other when the other dude was really just defending his family's honor to the best of his ability? He didn't like that. Couldn't stand it. And it bothered him for a very long time, even throughout his whole DP. So he went from basic education to advanced education. The advanced education is when they start prepping you to become an ENSO, a Norteño soldado, somebody with status. So he gets an essay topic and asks him, who is our number one enemy? So he's confused with the question, and he looks at his cellie and he goes, hey, bro, I don't get it. Like, what does that mean? Like, I don't understand the question. So his cellie, who's an educated, well-seasoned Norteño from the penal system, tells him, our number one enemy is the cops, the prison administration, the law, the legal system. They're the ones keeping us slammed down. They're the ones keeping us incarcerated. They're the ones validating us. They're the ones taking us off our yards. They're the ones dictating our program every day, taking our rights away. Our number one enemy will always be the cops. And he didn't agree with that. He was like, what? Like, because he's never been to prison yet. This is his first time in county jail for attempted murder. So he writes his 1,000-word essay. And the whole 1,000-word essay was like, bro, the administration isn't our worst enemy, our number one enemy. We are our number one enemy. And decided to say everything that I just said in this video on a 1,000-word essay. Like, how could you guys whack him for this and whack him for that when that guy was just as guilty? Use that whole scenario about Blanco and the OG getting down. He goes, since I've been in this county jail, you know how many homies that I seen get whacked over bonds, over infractions, over something that came from the streets, just a phone call. We don't even have paperwork on it. He goes, I've been seeing a lot of Norteños whack other Norteños in this county jail since I've been here. And it shouldn't be like that. When actual new Norteño protocol is, now that the carnales are on the yard, is that no Norteño with status is to sanction a removal of somebody else. That it has to be approved, investigated, and blessed by a C now. And any Norteño caught doing that will get blasted for taking matters into his own hands. Because that's how the practice was supposed to be since the 80s and the 70s. But Norteños started making calls on their own, feeling like they were educated enough and they didn't have to answer to the NF. Been doing it for a very long time. So the changes came back again, especially that there was a carnal in the other pod that was from Tulare, a young kid. So he writes this 1,000-word essay saying we are our own worst enemy. Look what we're killing each other for. Look at all these rules and regulations that we have that you guys circulate every day. Make us write essays about every day. And if we violate them, if we don't conform to them, if we don't make it seem like we're listening to you and we're obeying you and we're disobedient, we're getting whacked. We're getting whacked off hearsay. We're getting whacked off speculation. We're getting whacked off one-sided conversations and stories when we know what happened in that situation. All of us here know that that was a wrong call. They did not like that. So the essay gets to the Norteño teacher. Norteño teacher sees him in day room and says, hey, come to my cell real quick. And he comes to the cell and he's like, hey, put your face to the door. It was two homeboys from Dinah in the cell at the time. And he goes, hey, bro. So he thought he was going to get whacked in his face through the door. So he put his ear to the door and he's like, what's up, carnal? And they tell him, hey, what you wrote in that essay, I'm going to be honest with you. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And the NT that holds those positions, the Norteño teacher or maestro, they're usually well-seasoned Norteño soldados, somebody with status. So he's telling them, everything you said is right. Everything you said is right. I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's what you're supposed to be teaching. That's what you're supposed to be learning too. And just gave him that whole spiel how like he was correct in everything he just said. He goes, but it's considered poison. The carnales don't want you thinking like that. The end souls like myself don't want you thinking like that. But that's the God honest truth. So he was like taking it in like, all right, I did good. I did good. And then the Norteño hit him with, as much as I'm telling you that it's right, I can't submit this essay, bro. It's going to get you whacked. Because they're going to feel like you're spreading poison and propaganda. He goes, but the cold part about it is, he's all, you knowing the truth of what you put in this essay, everything that's right in front of you, you know the truth now. So if you don't do nothing about it, you're just spreading poison. So either way, you're doing damage to the cause anyways. You're doing damage to your own people anyways by not standing up and speaking like this. So he left the little homie confused. He was like, well, what am I supposed to do, bro? Like, what am I really supposed to do? He goes, so rewrite your essay and just tell them what they want to hear. in accordance to the education you were taught, what they want to hear. I'm not going to submit this essay. So dude does it again and writes what he's supposed to write. Prison administration this, the cops that, the violations of our laws, and why we're being stuck in the system, why we're not being let out, you name it, right? But the Norteño teacher, Selly, decided to speak up on it to somebody else. So bam, he gets put on freeze under investigation for spreading propaganda. Thinking that he was connected to dropout gangs. He was acting like a degenerate or a bandido. So he had to answer for that. Well, around the time that he answered for it, he still had a cellie that was not on freeze, that was still active. And a filter came in, his cellie read it, and he goes, hey bro, it's a trip, fool. Look what this filter says. So he reads the filter, and the filter says that we're going by Norteño program right now, not the Carnales program right now. And there was more details to it, and a stand-on policy. I can get into that one later. But they pretty much said that as long as there's Norteños running this county, we're going to do our program, our rules, not the Carnales rules. They have their own rules of their own organization. We only answer to us. And he was like, that's not how it's supposed to be. But his filter was going around and people were signing it at the bottom. So he knew there was a Carnal next door that was from Tulare. What he did was made the final decision, the final, infraction that caused his career, is he wrote down everything in that filter. And he wrote the kite to the Carnal, went to the door, passed it through the door, gave it to the Carnal, and told him, hey, bro, like, this is what they're circulating. They're undermining your authority. They're doing their own program. They're running their own show. I don't think this is right. I know this is not right. Teach me the ways it's supposed to be. And, if you can address this matter. Because he wanted to get Silent from Strathmore in trouble. Because Silent was doing his own program. So the Carnal wrote the household back. It was like, bro, whoever wrote this filter is full of crap. We are the Carnales. We run this. This is ours. You guys are here. You guys answer to us. It will always belong to us. So more people got in trouble for circulating that filter. But he got in trouble because he overstepped his boundaries. One of the biggest infractions you can do in the Norteño program is jump jurisdictions. Overstep jurisdictions. You can't jump over the COC, bro. It's like it's like one of the biggest violations known to Norteño program, bro. Once you jump jurisdictions and you undermine somebody's jurisdiction or their authority, that's a no-no. That's blasting material. And that's what happened. And that's how he ended his career, because he was addressing all the issues and all the things that he thought were right, that he was taught to be right. And people were just going about it wrong and didn't like how he was combating their program. Silent had a vendetta, got him attacked, got him sent to SNY, and his term's almost up. And he told me straight up, he's like, man, I went out there on the streets and put in work and retaliated what I was supposed to do, what I was taught to do. I went to county jail and did what I was taught to do. I was educated in a certain way, but when I finally opened my eyes and I started addressing the issue to try to correct it, to try to be involved in that aspect, they kept shutting me down, kept finding a reason to discipline me and shut my mouth. And then when I seen something that was wrong and somebody else said it was wrong, they held me accountable for a wrongdoing of their wrongdoings, saying that I was doing wrong, that I overstepped my jurisdictional boundaries, and got him whacked, and got him hurt. Now that's the part that messed me up. It's because I used to think like that sometimes in certain ways. The deeper I got into Norteño politics, which, man, I need to stop lagging and break down all the concepts for you guys. I started to realize, like, man, it's just perfect. It's just beautiful writing on a piece of paper. It's not what we do and how we conduct ourselves every day. It's what we want to believe in. It's what we want to incorporate in our daily lives. But even if we do incorporate those concepts in our daily lives, it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't open up them gates for us. It doesn't get us released and give us our freedom back. It really doesn't. Because at the end of the day, we pay too much attention to slaughtering one another, politicking on one another, backstabbing one another, catching more cases for sacrificing for the cause. That whole sacrificing for the cause concept that gets thrown around for decades, many years, over and over again, is keeping people incarcerated, and yet these guys want to make Norteños believe that the number one enemy is the prison administration, is the law, is law enforcement. No, what you're doing is you're shooting yourself in the foot, and because you don't like your circumstances in jail, you're trying to take control of whatever aspect you have left in your life and dictate everybody else's in the process, and when you don't get your way, that's how you release your anger. That's how you let out a little bit of aggression. by having somebody blasted and justifying it to the rest of the people that are in fear that it will happen to them. When all reality, everything that you live for are just man-made laws and basic concepts that have never furthered nothing. You can't say having a prison that you can walk on, a table that you can sit on, a cell you can go to, a yard you can walk freely and make a little bit of money, some chump change, is worthy of the cause, is advancement for the people. Because in reality, you guys are just keeping yourselves incarcerated every day. And you watch your people walk through them doors, becoming incarcerated every day, and you don't do nothing to change that. And you're okay with that. So with that being said, like I always say, is one life, one chance. We only got one chance to do this right. Let's get it done. Peace.